Hello and welcome back to another episode from the Studio Block server. My name is Weird and Bearded and we are over at my kind of personal little gaming district. We've been calling it Reindeer Games. I'm thinking I might not call it that because I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to get all the games I want to make made in times for Reindeer Games. Because, quite frankly, I had stuff come up earlier this year which lost me a couple months. And then I lost momentum from that. I've got another game being made over in the direction I'm looking, which I'm not showing you because it's halfway through being made, and I want to make that a big edit project, so that's taking some time. So currently we have 5 finished games. I do have ideas for games which should be quick to build, which is what we're doing today. Today we're going to be building a game, not one of the ones I had an idea for, we're trying something different. So one of the things I've been thinking of doing is taking some of my board games and turning them into Minecraft games. Because I've got about 150 board games, may as well make some use of them. Let's go into first person view. And the general idea has been, let's make big versions of these games. But what if I just made a board game version? I have a game that I love called Tsuro. We'll show Tsuro up on the screen. Tsuro! Sorry, sheep, you're being covered up. And it is very simple in terms of the components. There are 35 tiles, and then there are 8 pieces. The pieces we can easily do with chisels and bits. Just a bit. Well, for reasons which we'll get into, 2 bits. And then I can make the tiles in maps. And it turns out, if you've got a map on an item frame, you can also have chisels and bits in the same space. Now, the map is 1 pixel thick, so you need to have 2 bits to fit on there, and you've got to put the bits on before you put the map on, otherwise you just spin the map around. But we can make this work, which means I need a place to build maps, and for that we're going to go somewhere else, just because this view's getting boring. I figured we may as well come over to the redstone testing world where I've been designing things, so you can actually see what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. And we start off with this idea, which is a simple cobblestone farm. The cobblestone all gets pushed up, and then flying machines push it across. We have a line of obsidian at the other side, and then the flying machine comes back, and then we had an observer there, so that when the flying machines came back, the system would start again. So as you go through it, it gets faster and faster because the flying machines have less distance to go. I need 35 maps. That is a 5x7 area of maps. This would work, and these are all little chunk loaders. This would work, but it would take just over 100 hours, which is not ideal. It would make us a nice flat platform though. So then the next thought was, what do we have that's already flat? Ocean. What if we can use the ocean? So then over here, ignore this, I want to finish this off at some point, but it's going to take a lot of work. Over here, we have a flying machine. A very special flying machine, because this is powered by lava. So the player sits in that spot, they have a bucket facing up at this half slab, so then they put down the lava. When the lava falls in front of this observer, it pulls the entire machine along, and the player is then close enough to pick up the lava and put it down again. And as the lava starts to flow, it flows down these legs as the flying machine slowly moves forwards and just spreads out. So you end up with lava from there to there. So we can turn water into stone. It's still going to take an awfully long time. So I thought, well, where else do we have a nice flat surface that I can use? We now have a mod that allows people to make maps on the roof of the Nether. Which means we can make map art without having to spend a bunch of time flattening out areas for map art. So we still have to work on making the map art, but it just gets rid of the boring bit beforehand. And I'm ready for it. I have a schematic of what I need, and I made a big image in Paint.net. I then have some code that will turn that into a schematic for me. And here I have everything I am going to need. So we've got some resin slabs, some resin slabs, some more resin slabs, some resin slabs, the last of the resin slabs. Over here, we have some resin slabs. And in my ender chest, we have another 26 shulker boxes of resin slabs. This is going to take me a little while. But it should be quite fun. And there is only one type of block to place. Hopefully, this is going to make for a really fun time-lapse. I'm not going to explain what's going on beforehand, because it will make more sense to explain the game once I have all of the maps made. I can also tell you why it's so mathematically interesting. Now, there is one small factor of the mushrooms. I think for the sake of my map, because I'm going to be using the bedrock as a background, I think I'm okay with leaving the mushrooms where they are. Obviously, if they get in the way of what I need to build, I'll get rid of them. But apart from that, I think I might leave them. I think that's more fun. So I guess I better get on with this. It's going to be a weird little build. I forgot to mention a couple of important things. One, why are we using slabs? 2 reasons for it. We can spread blocks out even further, because obviously we can cover twice as much area with slabs as we can do with blocks. Just in terms of the number of resources needed. And 2, mobs can't spawn on them, so we keep the nether roof safe. It's not going to be the case for every map, but in this case we can, so we may as well. Also, why are we using resin? Very simple. As you can see, I need a lot of it, and the resin farm is the fastest farm we have. As long as it was a block that had enough contrast with the nether, it didn't matter what block I used, so we're going with resin. Now roll time-lapse. It is done. We now have much orange about the place. Yeah, that took a while. I was hoping to get everything done today, but after 10 hours of walking side to side placing blocks, my left hand hurt quite a bit. So I decided to give myself the evening off. But I am now ready to continue, and we shall talk about how the game actually works and why I claimed it to be mathematically interesting. Also, fun thing, here's the map of what we've done. Isn't it weird looking? Isn't it weird looking? Okay, here we have our game board. Obviously, we're going to build up a room around it, do a edge to the board and everything like that, but this is just getting the very basics done. So we have a 6x6 grid of glowstone, all with item frames for taking the maps. We then have currently our maps over here, which are all unknown. I may as well grab a third, because on each player's turn they will have 3 maps. If they put one into their offhand, they can look at them all quite a bit easier. And they will choose a map, put it down on one of the spaces. Well, specifically, they will have a piece starting off around the edge, and wherever their piece is, they've got to put the map down in front of it. But they can spin it round to face whichever way they like. So if their piece was there, their piece would move along the track to here, and on their next turn, they will gain another map, so they have 3 again, and they place one down in front of their piece, and then their piece would move down to there, etc., etc. And these are all perfectly aligned, so that no matter which way you spin them, everything lines up. Now, you might be thinking, we've got 36 spaces and 35 maps. There is a reason for that. Well, first of all, to get people out, if you get another piece to move off the edge of the board or crash into somebody else's piece, they're both out of the game. If at the end of the game, all 35 pieces have been placed, and yet there are still a number of pieces on the board, all around that central tile that there is no map on, all of those players tie for the win. It is a very simple game, but quite tactical, because you get to move other people's pieces around. It's good fun. I want to lay out all the pieces to talk about why it's mathematically interesting. I have split up the maps into different categories, which I don't really need to explain my point, but I just think it's satisfying. So first of all, we have categories. So we have maps that have rotational order 4, which means when you spin them, apart from the shadows changing, they are identical. So in all 4 positions, they look the same. Then we have maps with rotational order of 2. So that's different, but then it goes back to being the same. So when you spin them twice, it doesn't change anything. These also have a line of symmetry. So here you can see that's symmetrical down the diagonal. This one, there's a line of symmetry there, and one there. This one's also down the diagonal, etc., etc. In fact, because these have rotational order 2, they will all have 2 lines of symmetry. Except we then get these ones, which have rotational symmetry of 2 still, but no line of symmetry, so instead there is a map that is symmetrical to it. So these 2 maps are kind of paired together. Then we have the maps with just no symmetry whatsoever. When you spin them, they're all different. I mean, they might have lines of symmetry, but they don't have any rotational symmetry, which is the important thing. In fact, these ones do all have a line of symmetry, because again, when they don't have a line of symmetry, they have an opposite. So we can rotate all of these to make a perfect mirror image. But then we've still got one left. The reason why is each map we've got 8 entry and exit points. Each line connects a pair of points, and if you take into account symmetry and rotational symmetry, you can only have 35 unique maps. So you need 35 because you've got that space at the end, but also you can only have 35 without any repetition, which is beautiful. Now I've been mathsy, let's start figuring out how this thing's going to work. So I'm going to build up a little room, start getting the basics down, and we're going to build this up bit by bit. The game has Chinese stylings to it, so I thought it would be fun to go for sort of Chinese architecture. So I'm trying to go into that leaning. Obviously, we don't have a roof yet. There's a very good reason for that. We're going to be putting in some redstone around the back, so I want to wait until we've got all the redstone in, and then I can finish off the building. But this is what we got so far, and I quite like it. I think it looks quite good. And then we're going to have this open entrance, and rather than on a table, I have set the board down into the floor, which I think is quite nice. I mean, we're going to have to walk over it to place things anyway. And then, as you can see, I've put a load of pegs all around the outside to denote the possible starting positions. So people will pick a colour. So they'll open a barrel and there will be bits in there. Probably going to go for terracotta bits, because in the actual game, while they are different colours, they're not bright colours, they're a bit duller, so I feel like the terracotta will work well for that. So they can grab their bits and they pick any starting position and put them down in front of that peg. So then when we take maps, which, well, we'll talk about that bit in a moment, but for now they're still in the shulker boxes. So you put them down in front and you can see it all lines up perfectly. Ah, I'm so happy with this. So, redstone stuff. We need to randomize what maps people get. So we've got a little button here. We're going to put the maps into some droppers, into a water stream. So they will just come out the top, press a button, you get a map. The light will turn off if there are no more maps available. So if you're playing and you need to take a map, but there aren't any more maps, in the actual game there is a dragon tile. We don't have that, so instead we're going to have the dragon head, which you just wear. Like that. So then, if somebody goes out of the game, their tiles get redistributed amongst the players, starting with whoever has the dragon head, because they were the next person who should have taken a tile. See? It all works. It all makes sense. I just need to put in a little randomizer at the back, and then a system for returning the maps at the end of the game. And then I think we're pretty much done with this. So, let me get on with that. And, yeah. It's done. Finished. We got the roof. We got a little ridge along the top, which I've been seeing in the images that I've been looking at. We've got some red nether brick lanterns, which seem to be good for Chinese lanterns. Maybe. And we're all finished up internally. I thought about putting in a wall here, but I actually quite like seeing through to the rest of the roof. And then we've got all the bits that we need. We didn't really need a barrel for each one, but then people can sort of pick a barrel and grab the colour out. So that is Tsuro in Minecraft, but still as a board game. And I really want to know what you think of the idea of making board games in Minecraft, but trying to keep them as actual board games. So, let me know that down in the comments. What did you think of the time-lapse? I love that time-lapse. Like the video if you liked the video. And subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Weird and Bearded. I'm going to see if I can get some people on for a game of Tsuro for the next episode. And I will see you all next time.